Welcome, everyone. I'm Amy Seeley, president of Seeley Test Pros and Leap, helping students to succeed in all kinds of tests from 8th grade to grad school throughout Ohio.
And I'm Mike Bergen, president of Chariot Learning, helping students with test school and life based out of Rochester, New York.
Between the two of us today, we have over 60 years of experience at the highest levels of the test preparation and supplemental education industries.
We both love to talk and learn about the latest issues in education, testing, and admissions. So let's get down to tests and the rest. The fascinating topic we want to explore today is college admissions for the student athlete. But first, let's meet our special guest, Barb Smith.
Barb Smith is a former Division I college athlete, a 30-year former Division I college basketball coach, motivational speaker, author, entrepreneur, and advocate for all levels of leadership and teamwork. Having both played and coached at the college level, Barb knows that sports go beyond winning and losing. She is the founder of Courtside Leadership, an organization that promotes leadership, teamwork, and team dynamics. She has authored a book entitled Beyond the Talent, Profile of a Winning Team, which details some of her research in building successful teams. Barb founded Find My Team, a company that partners with aspiring high school student athletes, parents, and coaches, and empowers them with the knowledge necessary to make the college athletic recruiting process as positive, proactive, and successful. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, really.
Barb, it is fantastic to have you on the show. We have a lot to talk about on a topic that so many of our listeners are interested in. Before we get into that, we're interested in you. You have quite a history. Can I read between the lines and say that you were a basketball player?
I was a basketball player who started playing basketball up in my grandparents' hayloft, way up there, and had to climb a ladder to get up there. And I started shooting basketball, basketballs up there. So it started when I was young, and I just couldn't stop it.
Do you feel thrilled to be alive at a time when women's basketball has achieved so much popularity?
Thanks for saying that. My heart is smiling daily because I have been able to see this growth, and I know the pioneers, and I also know the new players coming through that really have put women's basketball, I guess, on a map of exponential growth. And that's cool to see because it goes through all the sports. Then it starts penetrating other sports, and it's fun to watch the growth in it and to know that I was one of the 100 years ago when I played that we didn't have the 3-point line. I graduated and then they got the 3-point line and the smaller ball and all the things that just have changed in the sports. It's fun to watch the growth.
That's fantastic. Now, speaking of growth, you started your journey, say, as a college athlete, but you've done so much more since. Can you tell us a bit about how you moved into your professional life?
Yes. As a 30-year college women's basketball coach, I got to see the difference between a thriving college experience and one where the student athletes were just surviving it. And that experience it's just so vastly different that if everybody could look in a crystal ball and figure out where they could thrive, they would choose that college no matter what, no matter where it was, no matter what the cost was. It could be on the moon. Parents would get behind it if they could see in a crystal ball what that looked like. Because when you find the right college fit, everything takes care of itself, everything else. So my mission as a coach, when I finally got off that treadmill, around the United States, all 50 states, many, many countries with that little orange ball. I loved every minute of it. When I got off that treadmill, I decided to get on another one where I could give back. And Find My Team came along, as well as Courtside Leadership, where we're helping teams work together in Courtside Leadership. And in Find My Team, we're helping these young student athletes find the right fit, find the right team, find the right culture, find the right college. And it warms my heart now. Courtside's about 12 years old. Find My Team is about 5 years old. And when parents call me and say, I've never seen my student athletes so confident in calling college coaches or know what they want, I've never seen them be so sure what they want, then I know that this is hitting home and we are able to help families navigate this craziness of the college sports world.
It's interesting you're mentioning fit because in so many of our conversations that we have about college and admissions and selection, right, it is all about fit. I'm wondering, so for students who obviously are athletes and want to play at the collegiate level, I think about what fit looks like there because obviously that funnel must get smaller. So I'm wondering, in terms of pursuing playing at the collegiate level, what's the number one mistake that you see when these student athletes are going through the college selection process?
The number one issue that comes up is they start too late. And if we could just get everybody to start in eighth or ninth grade as opposed to when they're juniors in high school, then our young student athletes would have a chance to try college on before going there. Most of the time, they sit back and wait to be found. College student athletes sit back and wait to be found. Once they're found, it could be a junior or senior. Now they've got to really scramble and get everything else in order to try to get it to work.
So I'm curious, why do you think they wait to be found? Because let me put it to you this way. I'm thinking in my mind, sports and athletics is such a bigger deal than probably all of us here where it was when we were in school. So for example, if I were playing basketball back in the day in seventh grade, the last I'd be thinking about is whether I'm going to play at the collegiate level. I think we can all say that the level of play anymore and the sort of dedication that we see from students, from their families, like towards the sport. I understand this idea of kids might know in seventh or eighth grade, but I'm wondering, why do you think they sort of sit back and wait? Is it that they don't have the confidence that they could play? Or I'm just curious about that.
No, they're not found. They're not contacted yet by college coaches. So you start in the eighth and ninth grade, and you're like, well, no, I'm not being found yet. Some are
But I
getting
mean,
some
generally you
letters and
wouldn't. But
things.
I guess what I'm saying is like, why is it they sit and wait? Because obviously, recruiting wise, you can't technically be contacted, but or you
But
can't.
there's a whole host of activities. There are camps and special
Right, right.
programs.
But you'd have to be committing to that as you enter high school, right?
It's an interesting question you ask, Amy, because don't we see that happening on the academic side more pervasively? That students who have every expectation that they're going to go to college don't do the things that they need to do to be prepared for college
Sure.
early on. They don't read.
Mhm.
They let AI do their math homework. They like the sports might just be, and Barb, you can tell us if this is true, if that passivity or that lack of proactive commitment to a selective process is specific to what you're thinking of, or is that just the general, just general passivity?
It's a mindset. It's a mindset that my student athlete, I'm a parent now, my student athlete doesn't need to worry about anything except being found. So we're just going to travel on these club teams. We're going to hire personal trainers. We're going to get all this help because we're going to make them as good as they can be. And we're going
Oh,
to get
I
them
get it. I see.
exposed.
They assume that
Yes.
doing those. Okay, now I'm understanding. They're assuming that's at these events and places that they show up or showcases that that's where it happens. But what you're saying is that is not where it happens.
Well, it might be where it happens, but it's not all that's necessary. So you might, be on these teams. You might get found. Maybe you're a sophomore, maybe you're a junior, maybe you're younger. But once you're found, whoever shows me, then the student athlete now, the most attention, that's where I'm going. And so I know nothing about the coach, the school, the academics. If my major's there, I might even change majors because I've been found. And so this exposure is really what leads most high school student athletes and their families with the college recruiting process, instead of there's a human being in there with dreams and passions and hopes and wants and desires and an academic major and all these other things that get shelved maybe forever campus or very late in the process, and it's not enough time to examine all of that and make sure it's a fit.
So what you're saying is that a lot of these athletes are really diligent and active and committed to excelling in their sports but they're ignoring everything else that is involved with going to college, pursuing an academic interest, preparing for life outside of school, all of those things.
Right. The simplest thing as how do you like to be coached? Because not every coach is made the same. Do you like to be far away from home or would you like to be closer? We don't know. But as you're an eighth grader, you can try that on. You can go away from home. You can, maybe a parent doesn't go to a game a couple of times. What does it feel like for the student athlete to get all of that experience? So when he or she has to make a decision, they know exactly what they want.
They need agency.
They need a guide.
So what other so there's that sense that you can be found, and when you're found, everything will fall into place perfectly for you. You'd probably categorize that as a myth. What other myths are prevalent in the admissions process for student athletes?
I think that is the number one myth, first of all, that exposure is all you need. But there are other things. There's a myth that you don't even have to worry about academics. Just find the sport world school that you want to go to, and academics will take care of itself. And the other myth I've already talked about is, I don't need to worry about this till my junior or senior in high school, and then we can worry about this. I think even those three, the exposure, the putting off academics, and waiting till later in high school are really, really messing with the college recruiting process. And transferring is very popular today and gotten easier, but it is very hard on the person. Number one, the person who's doing it, on the family, on the team you just left, and the team that you're coming to, all that disruption. So if you can find fit earlier and be able to find a place and love it there and get networked and all of that, I think that is key to a happy college career.
So I think what you're sort of suggesting is obviously when they're searching for colleges, there's this, I'm assuming, and I was never, so by the way, full disclosure, never played a sport in my life. Okay. But I'm going to assume like a personality to the team, like you're talking about a coach or the other players. And I'm wondering, like, do students, if they go to a school and let's say that coach leaves or one of the other players leave, that has to sort of be a tricky thing too, right? And sort of trying to make a decision because some of those decisions are based upon the people, not necessarily the institution. Do you see that?
Absolutely. And so all of that needs to be taken into account. For example, you might be looking at college A and the coach has just come in. The chances of that coach staying there for most of your career is probably pretty high. You're going to college B or looking at college B and the coach has been there for 25 years and they're very successful, or even 15 years. There may be a chance that coach could be on the way out. Is that something that is appealing or okay with you? And then if it is, you'll be ready when the change does happen because you were expecting it. You learned about it. You knew it was coming, as opposed to just going there and then being caught off guard with a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, we see issues with coaches leaving when we hear about Division I, we hear about students entering the portal for football or things like that. But not every athlete has that kind of mobility to chase a better situation, right?
Yes, and I think for the changes that have happened in college, one of them is this transfer portal. And the transfer portal makes it look really sexy to bounce around and to get more money now because of also NIL money's in there.
Right.
So bounce around, make more money, make more money, make more money. And it looks good on TV. But when you actually look at stats, it's much easier to get into the transfer portal than it is to get out of the transfer portal.
That's a good way to look at it, right? You can get into it by just declaring for it. Do all sports have access to the transfer portal, or is that
Yes.
for specific sports or divisions or conferences or anything like that?
All NCAA schools, Division 1, 2, and 3 have portals, and thousands of kids every year are jumping in there hoping to get out, but only 49%, 49% are actually getting out. So half of the people that go in there are stuck.
By stuck, do you mean that they lose their spot on their team? And
Yes.
like to enter the portal, are you is you leaving? You're going. You resigned from one job and you're hoping to get hired by another.
Yes. And then if you can't get out on the other side and you turn around and want to come back to the team that you just quit on, I don't know if many coaches are going to
Right.
take you back,
Right.
or teams would take you back. And sometimes they do, but it's very rare. So, people are either they stop playing, they jump to another situation where now they got to pay to play, and all these other things happen, or they're stuck in there.
Mhm.
Do you think, I mean, obviously students can play a variety of different sports at the collegiate level. I'm wondering, do you think certain sports are more vulnerable to some of these challenges than others? Like, is there safety in certain, obviously a student's not going to switch sport for this purpose, but I'm saying if you're in a particular sport, do you think there are some, greater challenges if you're a certain kind of player versus another kind of player?
You mean in different sports
Yeah.
kind of players? Yeah. I think the trend starts with the main sports, and then it just trickles to every
And
other
by
other
main,
sport.
you want to clarify what you perceive to be the main sports.
Yeah, I don't even mean to say it like that because that's not the way to say it. But football gets the cream of the crop of the money, and everything goes to football, and then men's and women's basketball, and then it
And
trickles
then you're
after
like,
that.
whatever's after that.
Well,
I
sometimes
mean,
it.
I know what you mean, but like, I think that's true. Right? We know that different sports don't really, I don't want to say play by the same rules because that's not true, but it's the idea that things get handled differently if you're playing lacrosse, maybe at some schools versus if you are, a quarterback football player or whatever.
Right.
Um,
But the portal works the same way. So those
right.
those players are also transferring, um, and it's across the board, and it's probably going to just continue to happen because those division, let's say 3 college students want to go Division 1. So they're going to be good, get in there, and hope to be recruited up is the wrong word, but recruited out to go to Division 1.
So in this process, how can families, support their student athlete in this process with not getting too, adding too much pressure as we know parents are apt to do sometimes?
I just had a conversation yesterday with a parent. We had lunch together. We talked about her situation, and I feel for parents today because there's a ton of pressure on these families nowadays with this whole sports scene. It begins in youth sports, and it just builds. It builds on the families. It builds within the student athletes, and in some instances, it's crushing. So, what I would advise every parent, if you can do this, just be present without pushing. Just be present and be an encourager, and let those your children know they are more than their sport. They are more than an athlete. They are not a commodity to be plucked out of somewhere and paid or not paid to play. They are a human being who has a passion and wants to be able to be successful in life and wants to do things outside of sport, even though they don't know some of this yet. And if the parents can help them find those passions and also help those grow as much as you do with the athletics, you're going to have a healthier child who can handle some of the pressure, because pressure is going to be there. So I would say guide, but don't decide for your athletes. Be encouragers, help them find their other passions. And if you can start early with your student athletes, 8th and 9th grade, I would do that. And when I say that, I know parents say, what does that mean? It means get a guide, get some help. For example, we have a PCN or PCM 6 plus assessment. We give everyone that starts with our program this assessment, and it actually helps them understand who they are and what they want in a college experience as early as 8th and 9th grade. So then you can start practicing.
Barb, I love the advice that parents should help students be more than just their sport, find out who they are. But are there some more practical tips on how to do that when the entire life of a family usually warps to accommodate all of a student's games and practices and travel schedules and costs and commitments. So it just feels like very often student athletes define their families and themselves.
Well, we
Yeah.
certainly see that in test prep, right? With the student who wants to do test prep and the athletic schedule and game schedule and travel schedule is usually prioritized over the test prep, not trying to diss sports, but sometimes like, well, priority wise, but yeah, their focal point has been on the athletics. So you kind of by action, not words,
Right.
you've
You're saying this
demonstrated
is more
this like this
important.
is
I'm
such a
going to
big
let you
deal.
skip everything else because your coach demands 30 hours a week from you.
Yeah,
Right?
that's don't get me started on our youth sports. That's a
We just got started, Barb.
okay. I think, one of the main things that parents can do, and that's a great question that you asked, Mike, is ask questions. Ask them questions. Are you having fun? Are you having fun with this? And if there's ever a time when the student is not having fun, we don't have to push them in like sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, because they're so competitive at that age already. That the teams are not about development; they're more about winning tournaments at that age, when it should be developing athletes and students and people at the same time. We're just a little off track with that regard. So parents can say, are you having fun? Parents can say, hey, we're taking a family vacation on this date and this time. We're between sports. We've got to go and get away from sport, and then go to talk to these coaches sometimes and say, look, my kid needs a break. It's okay. My kid needs a break. We've got to go on a family vacation and we're going to do this. And most of the time, those coaches will let you take the breaks. And if they don't, is that the coach that you want to be playing for?
If that's the coach you've got, right? I know students, we all know students.
Yeah.
They're not going to college to play sports. As a matter of fact, they're not even starting on their high school sports teams, but they don't dare miss a practice just
Well, if you're in
because,
high school, okay, so high school is a different bird. You're in high school, you're going to class, you're going to games. That's you're committed to that team. That's good. Now dump a whole nother 3 seasons on with a summer club program.
right?
Now we're talking about, that's a lot.
Yeah.
If you're playing 3 seasons in a summer and 1 season during the year, what could give a little? And how can we give our kids a break? And again, can we explore some other passions outside of their sports? It is difficult, Mike. I'm not gonna I'm not suggesting that this is an easy thing, but I do say asking questions, finding time away from sport, even as a parent, ask them questions away from sport and get their minds out of sports a little bit and try to help them find, are they a bug collector? Are they a birder, Mike? Are they a birder?
Are they a birder? We've got a couple on this in this conversation right now.
Yes.
That's
What
good.
else makes their heart light up? What else is in there? Because there are other things that light up every child, and we just have to help them find that so that it can be a healthy experience as well.
Fantastic. Let's go back to the beginning. A final note, what specific advice do you have for families that are just turning their attention to the college admissions process with the specific wrinkle that we've got a student athlete who is hoping to play in college?
That's a great question. And I would first say, try not to fall into the exposure gap, the exposure myth. Try not to feel like you have to compare to what's happening to the person next to you. And if they're doing everything in the book, that you have to do that you have to chase every ID camp, chase all the camps, do all the tournaments, get a personal trainer, get a nutritionist, get a mental health professional, all the things that you think they're doing, so you need to do to get your child a head start. Just breathe. And if they want to play college sports, just know that there is a place for them. There's a place for them to play if they want to play. And it takes starting early to really dive into what that looks like and what that means. And if you can get a guide, get one, get somebody that knows this process. And I will tell you that Find My Team is one of those, and we'll help you. We'll help your student athlete from A to Z take this process, take a little bit of a load off the parents, and help the student athlete do this process, drive their own process, be empowered, because once they learn how to do it, they'll use the same process when they go out and find their spouse, when they go out and find their next job, their career, when they go out to find what community they're going to live in. This same process is the one that they're going to use. So if we can show them early enough how to do it, the recruiting process is one of the main and major decisions of their career to point, but there'll be more.
We'd be remiss if we didn't touch on a topic that's kind of changed over the years. And you alluded to it in the past, the academic piece of the application wasn't quite as important. There were the NCAA requirements for test scores and grades. The test scores have been waived, but it's been our experience over the last 5 years, from the pandemic and to now, that coaches are actually requiring test scores from athletes, often at a higher level than the kind of scores that general admits have to submit. Are you finding that among the students that you've been working with?
I think that the whole college atmosphere has changed. I think academically it's changed, athletically it's changed, and now there's a whole lot of stuff in flux with our whole academic educational system that, you know, some of these colleges are closing. Some of them are going from Division I to II. There's just a lot of it's just murky right now. And I think test scores they've come, they've gone, they've come, they've gone. And I don't want to say every, but most coaches are going to take that into consideration, because it's one point that they can look at to try to figure out if this person who's coming to their team and coming to their program will make it. But before they do that, they're looking at talent. They spot the talent, and then they look at everything else. And so I think, you know, college testing is part of it. And if I'm advising any parent or any student athlete, I would take them all. I would take those tests for practice, for sometimes you can, you know, take different courses when you get to this college. You guys know all of this already, I know, but, you know, just put yourself in a situation where you're having to take tests. It's good practice.
It is. Great. Barb, I know we could talk about this topic with you all day. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. I applaud what you're doing, helping student athletes. The more we can help them, the better futures we all have. And that's my mission.
100%. If listeners would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way to get in touch is go to findmyteam.com, and you can learn about our programs. You can learn about the whole company. You can set up an appointment if you want to talk to somebody, to ask questions. That call is free. And if you just want to reach out personally to me, you can just go to Barb, BARB, at findmyteam.com.
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. Be sure to join us for another fascinating topic and guest on the next Tests and the Rest.
Did you enjoy this episode as much as we did? Find expanded links and more for this and all of our episodes at our show page at testsandtherest.com. While you're there, be sure to explore everything the larger TestBright site has to offer, including real, expert, unbiased answers to the toughest admissions testing questions. Of course, we'd love for you to rate, review, and subscribe to Test and the Rest on your favorite podcast platform. If there's a topic or guest you'd like us to feature, just let us know and spread the word.